Hello there. Welcome back to the Movies with MacLean podcast. I'm Andrew MacLean, and this is my weekly movie podcast where I discuss movie news, anything going on in the world of movies, my favorite movies, anything movies. I usually have guests on here, but today it's just myself, and it will probably be a shorter show because of that. Although there is a lot of news to discuss because it's been a while since our last show. And don't worry, I will have guests back next week. I have big plans for next week. So that being said, I'll get into the movie news. The first two stories sort of tie into each other, and that is that Ben Affleck has written a Batman script. He's written a script for a solo Batman movie. DC has not yet slated their solo Batman movie, although the second part of this news is more recently, a couple days ago, DC put two new movies on their slate, one for October 5th, 2018, yes, and November 1st, 2019. So, could one of those movies be the Batman movie? Most likely, I think. But there's other movies that DC could make. Ben Affleck, a lot of people don't know, or don't remember, he's an Oscar-winning screenwriter for Good Will Hunting, which he wrote with Matt Damon back in 1997, I think. A lot of people know he won the Oscar for Best Picture for Argo, and he has done great work directing, but he has written a Batman script. Whether they'll use that script, I don't know, but most likely he also wrote the script for his directorial debut, I believe was his directorial debut, Gone Baby Gone, and hopefully he'll end up directing the Batman too. When they announce that, I expect they'll announce him as the director. DC still has the Shazam movie on their slate for like 2018 or 2019, I'm not sure. I have a feeling they're going to remove that because they still haven't cast a Shazam, and that there's really no interest in a Shazam movie, I don't think. They did say that The Rock was going to play the villain Black Adam, but now he's in talks to play Lobo, which I think Lobo will probably be the other one. That the other movie that DC just announced, because there's the October 5th, 2018 movie, which I think will be the Batman as the title, and then Lobo will be November 1st, 2019. Lobo's sort of an anti-hero. He's like a intergalactic bounty hunter who rides a motorcycle. He's a really fun character. It'll probably be like DC's answer to Fox's Deadpool, I think, and I think it'll be a lot of fun, especially if The Rock is playing him, because The Rock's got a lot of charisma. And there's a really great episode of the Justice League animated series with Lobo, where Superman's away and he comes in and tries to take his place on the team. So it'd be interesting to see if they did a Lobo movie, how they would tie that into the other DC movies, if they ever do that eventually. But that's one that I'd like to see. Maybe they'll make one of those one of those two new movies a sequel to Man of Steel, or maybe they'll move up the Green Lantern Corps movie, which is not until 2020. That's a little disappointing for me because other than Batman, Green Lantern is my favorite, or my second favorite DC superhero. So I'd like to see that get moved up. And the Justice League Part 1 comes out next year, November 17th, so one of these movies will be after Justice League Part 1, but before Justice League Part 2, and the other movie will be after both of them. So that's all the DC news, but a lot of other news. Jonah Hill will be directing a feature film called Mid-90s. It's going to be a coming-of-age story, and that's all we really know about it right now. I don't really know how he'll be as a director, but he's not starring in the movie, he's only directing, And Jonah Hill now is a two-time Academy Award nominated actor. I never thought I'd say that, but I think that he has potential to be a good director. I mean, we don't really know anything about the story of this movie yet, but I think good actors usually make pretty good directors. We just talked about Ben Affleck. Um, Kenneth Branagh is another good one. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to this. I think it's smart that he's not, like, acting in it, so he's not trying to do too much his first time around. It doesn't have a release date or anything yet, as far as I know, but, it could be a, interesting movie. I'm looking forward to it, I guess. I really don't know when that'll be, though. The next piece of news, Cillian Murphy, or Cillian Murphy, I don't know which it is, has been cast in uh, Chris Nolan's World War II epic Dunkirk. Chris Nolan has already cast Tom Hardy and Kenneth Branagh, who I just mentioned, in Dunkirk. It tells the story, if you don't know, Dunkirk was like where the British rescued like a bunch of French soldiers from the beaches of Dunkirk and France. I don't know too much about the story, but it's something about that, like when they were trying to escape France when Germany had taken over. Chris Nolan, we talked about him last week. He's a great director, and he's worked with Cillian Murphy 4 times. He was in every one of the Dark Knight trilogy movies as Scarecrow. I loved him in those. And he was also in Inception. I thought he was great in Inception. And obviously, him and Chris Nolan are good buddies because they work together now for 5 times. And I think that he'll just add to this. If you saw the Netflix series Peaky Blinders, I don't think it was a very good series. I mean, it has good reviews. It just wasn't really for me, but it was like about gangs, but it just didn't really go anywhere. But anyways, Cillian Murphy was in that. He's the lead, and he was really good. He was the best part of the show. He's a great actor, and anything he's in, I mean, is usually he's going to give a good performance. So that's great news to hear that he's cast in Dunkirk. It comes out on July 21st, 2017, so mid next year. This will be Chris Nolan's first project since Interstellar, so I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Now, of course, the big story we all know, the Rogue One trailer dropped yesterday, and I think we all saw it, so I'm going to give my thoughts on the Rogue One trailer. This is our last news story. I really liked it. I thought it was great how they're differentiating it from the other Star Wars movies. I thought maybe we would have seen Darth Vader, but we didn't, unless that was him who like walked into that room with Imperial guards. But no obvious Vader. I love the look of Ben Mendelsohn's character, who was like that admiral. I think he looks menacing. He really looks evil. We also didn't see Mads Mikkelsen's character, unless he was who I just said may have been Darth Vader. I think they said something about how he's like an Imperial officer who turns like good. Maybe he helps them get the rebel plans. By the way, if you don't know the main plot of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, it'll be like about a team of bounty hunters, rebels. Well, it certainly looks like rebels, but there probably might be some bounty hunters involved too, who steal the Death Star plans. It takes place directly before Episode 4, and Darth Vader, I'm not sure if he's confirmed, but I know I think he's supposed to be in the movie. Most likely he'll be. So yeah, the look of the movie was great. It really looks like a gritty war movie, sort of type of Star Wars movie. I like how they're really making Felicity Jones's Jyn Erso character much different from Rey. Mon Mothma looked like exactly like Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi and sounded like her. So it was great to see her in there too. A lot of cool action with Donnie Yen and that samurai action. My favorite shot in the whole trailer was the AT-ATs in like that tropical landscape firing. I love AT-ATs, and we've only seen them live action once in Empire Strikes Back. They've been in. This is like the first live action time we've seen in another landscape because, of course, Empire was in the snow on Hoth. But I mean, we've seen in Rebels, in like the early this season of Rebels, we saw it in Battlefront. Of course, there's the Walker Assaults and Main game mode. But it's always great to see live action AT-ATs. I also really like the new look of the Stormtrooper. It's sort of like a Shadow Trooper, but a little bit different. Everything about this trailer excited me. What's his name? Forrest Whitaker was great. It'll be interesting to see how his character plays in. He really looked kind of strange, but it was kind of a weird trailer. There's a lot of weird stuff thrown in there, but I like that. It'll be I think there'll be a lot of strange elements in this movie with some of the characters. I don't know if they'll use any characters from Star Wars Rebels, but that would certainly be exciting for me, or any other fans of Star Wars Rebels. Maybe they'll use some of the current Star Wars comic book characters. I don't know how they would play in, but there's one, Dr. Aphra from the Darth Vader comic book. I don't need to see her in there, but I've heard like rumors that, or not really rumors, but like just speculation that she might play in. I don't need to see that. I really just want to see new characters in the Star Wars universe, new planets, just like build on the galaxy that we have. Don't make it smaller, make it bigger. Although it does look like we're going to see Yavin, which is great. I would love to see more of the Yavin base, of course, from A New Hope. So overall, the Rogue One trailer really excited me. It was unexpected. I mean, well, expected from 2 days ago when they said they released the preview saying coming tomorrow, but I didn't think we were going to get it until Civil War in May. Well, I guess it's only a month away, but still very exciting. Rogue One comes out December 16th, 2016. I'm looking forward to that greatly, and this trailer only furthered my excitement. That's all the news for today. On to the main topic. If you clicked on this video, you saw that the topic is horror movies, and I'm not the biggest horror fan, but there are a few that I've seen and really enjoy. Some that I think need to be talked about because they're just really good horror movies, really scary, that I mean I wouldn't want to watch again, but I will talk about those. Like I said, I'm not a big horror fan, so I really don't have that many movies to talk about. It'll probably be over very soon. This will probably be a shorter show. So that being said, the first movie I have to talk about is A Nightmare on Elm Street. A Nightmare on Elm Street is terrifying, for me at least. I know some people think it's funny, stupid. I think it's a good movie because of the idea is just really creepy. It messes with you. It's a fun movie to watch. I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but I don't want to watch it again because it kind of sticks with you, the ideas that are in there, how you can't go to sleep because that's sort of a safe thing, and that the idea of that not being safe sort of sticks with you. The guy who plays Freddy Krueger, I think it's Robert Englund, he does a really good job. The other performances aren't so great. The main lead girl is okay, it's a little animated at times. And Johnny Depp made his debut in A Nightmare on Elm Street, and there's a scene with him that's just gruesome. But overall, it's a pretty terrifying movie. Probably for me the scariest movie I've ever seen. But I think it's a good movie. And I mean, if you like to be scared, and if you haven't seen it yet, most people have seen it, I think, but you should check it out. It's on Netflix. So yeah, if you like horror, definitely I think you'd like this if you like slashers, and it's overall a pretty good movie. Pretty scary stuff in there. Also, some comedy. I hear I haven't seen any of the sequels. I hear the sequels are not as good, but a lot more try to be funny than scary. Maybe some people see those and then that takes away from the original, and that's why they think it's more funny, or maybe it's just me. But personally, I I think it's a good movie. I enjoyed watching it, but it's very scary. And Freddy Krueger is a good villain, very good villain. So that's all I have to say about that one. Moving on, The Shining. I love The Shining. This is one that I do want to watch again many times because of how well the movie shot, the performances. I really enjoyed The Shining. It's not really scary for me. I don't really find Jack Nicholson to be scary. I think he's funny. I love him as the Joker. I think he's really funny in 1989 Batman. And in this, I love watching him like go insane. I think it's hilarious when he like sits down at the bar and there's like no one there, but then he just like imagines the bartender being there and has the conversation with him. The shots of the Overlook Hotel, like the way the camera moves, it's incredible. I was just in awe when I watched The Shining for the first time. I've only seen it once, but it's one of those movies where you're just like glued to the screen, just like looking at how like amazing the shots are and like wanting to know what's gonna happen next. It's a really great movie. I mean, Stanley Kubrick is one of the greatest directors of all time, and I thoroughly enjoy The Shining. I don't find it scary, but Jack Nicholson gives an incredible performance. I feel like I'm being a little repetitive, but The Shining is my favorite horror movie, and it's a great movie. I hear though that Stephen King didn't like the movie, so I don't know what to think of that. I guess maybe if you read the book and you liked it, maybe it's not exactly true to the book. But I mean, sometimes things that aren't true to their source material are still great in their own ways. So check out The Shining if you haven't seen it. Also on Netflix. I only have two more movies because, like I said, not this is my type of movie, but the Alien is the next one. Alien is a good movie. I love the shots of the spaceship and of that planet that they go on. I really like the shots of that cave and like when he's in the room with all the eggs. Alien came out a couple years after Star Wars. I think took some ideas from like the science fiction elements of that. I love how like big the spaceship is. Like it just like opens up for so much like story. I guess like I love like stories that take place in like a big universe and for a cast of like 8 people. It was a pretty huge ship, so I think that allows for a lot of exploration. I think that there's some like scary elements. Overall, it wasn't very scary for me, but it's intense and it really has you like glued to the screen, wondering what's going on or like what's gonna happen. I haven't seen Aliens yet, but I've just watched Alien recently, and I'm definitely want to see Aliens. I hear there's a lot more action in that. I like how they don't show the xenomorph a lot in Alien, sort of like in Jaws, so they don't show the shark that much. They keep him hidden a lot, and then I think they really use the xenomorph well when they use him. Overall, it's a really entertaining movie, and Ridley Scott is a great director. I really enjoyed Alien. So, that being said, only one movie left. You're Next. Now, this doesn't compare to the other 3 movies I just talked about as far as quality of movies, but if you don't know what You're Next is, it came out a few years ago. I don't know the exact year, but it's about like a family who's at they're at like a reunion in some cabin, and a bunch of like men dressed in like sheep and animal masks come to the house and start like murdering them. And it's like a horror comedy. There's a lot of comedy in it, but it's kind of a stupid movie, but it's really fun to watch. I mean, just the idea that they're all in like sheep masks is pretty funny. Like kind of like in WWE, you know, the Wyatt brother family or whatever. Like I feel like they came out in sheep masks, and it was just kind of stupid but fun to watch. there's a lot of comedy in here, like the way that some of the people go out. There's one person who has like a bunch of screwdrivers jabbed into them, but like the reaction of them and like the fact that they don't go down after like 5 screwdrivers are in them, it takes like 6. I mean, it's kind of funny. I enjoyed it. It's pretty intense. Some of it's kind of gruesome. So if you don't like a lot of gore, like probably not for you. But I really enjoyed it. It's really funny. There's this one scene. It's kind of ridiculous with this guy like in a sheep mask like kills someone and then just like turns on some music and just like sits down and listens to it. Sounds kind of dumb, and it is, but it works in the movie, and it's pretty funny. So yeah, I like Your Next. It's one that I've seen a couple of times, and I'll probably watch a few more times. Sort of a guilty pleasure because not really that good of a movie. But that's it. I like I said, I'm not a big horror guy. I mean, I've certainly seen other horror movies, but these are like my favorites. Um, so I'll be back next week with more guests. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't seen my previous episodes, go back and watch those if you enjoyed this. Last week we talked about Chris Nolan movies and gave a review of Batman v Superman. Next week I'll be bringing back the trivia challenge, if you saw that I did a few weeks ago. So that should be a lot of fun. And yeah, until then, may the force be with you. Always.